Okay. We are live. Hello, everyone. Let me get the link posted to the world, and we will talk about a game. I'll turn this on, save that. And then we want to get a shareable link and paste it. There we go. Boop. And copy it and post that. And then post it to Twitter. And that is that. All right. Here we go. We are going to talk about Hallertau today. Hi there. Welcome to Board Games with Scott Live. I'm going to start that over. There, see. Got to get my waving hand. Oh, it's way over here. Huh. That webcam is cut very funny right now. Oh, well, it'll be fine. Let's try that again. Hi there. Welcome to Board Games with Scott Live. In this show, what I do is I take a game and play it. And during this time, I chat about the game and my thoughts. I'm trying to simulate what I would normally be doing in my game lab with my students, but I can't go to my game lab right now because of the pandemic and I don't have students to work through these games with. So I'm going to work through them with you. So this is a live stream. Today, we are going to be exploring Hallertau, which is the new Uwe Rosenberg game, who made Agricola and other farming games. And this is yet another farming game. Hallertau is a German region that's known for growing hops. And in this game, you're going to be growing plants. You're going to be making sheep. That's right. We're going to be planting sheep. No, we're going to be bringing in sheep and milking them and turning them into meat and trying to build up our village center here. So we're just going to dive right in. I'm going to be playing the solo game, which it's quite well done. I've enjoyed the solo game. And just like with many of Uwe's games, the first few times you play it, you're going to be like, how do I do anything? I know that was a real thing with Agricola. If you played that, the first time you played Agricola, you probably felt like, I don't understand how to do a thing. How do I even feed everyone? And then after you've played for a while, you understand how to work the system. And that's how this game is. I'm slowly figuring out how to make all this work. As with many games like this, your goal is to get the points of victory so that you can have the best village. And you're going to be doing that, a lot of that through building up your village down here. You're also going to be doing that through getting cards that give you income that also going to end up giving you some points. So I'll be going through all these different things that you do as I play the game. Now, the game plays over 6 turns, and that's what these cards are representing your 6 years. Now, if you're playing this with multiple people, you would still have this one board in the middle. This is your action selection board. And then each player would have their own board here, their own building, their own fields, and their own jewelry box. The purpose of each of these, this board ends up tracking your crops and when they've been planted and how much you're going to get for them. So it takes, in Agricola, what was spread out and very visual and turns it into a spreadsheet, if you will, which to me was a little disappointing. One of the things I liked about Agricola and Caverna is that I got to build up and see this growing farm and I could see the thing I made. And here you kind of have a spreadsheet. So they've taken it down. The way you read the spreadsheet is each of these, that you've got rows and columns. And so you can have one field on each of these rows. And the number over here tells you how effective that field is going to be. So as the game goes on, as you use the fields, they become less effective. As you leave the fields alone, they can become more effective. And when you harvest them, whatever you've put on here will end up just moving over to this column, which is where you store your goods. So I will say the spreadsheet, the field spreadsheet is very easy to use, although it gets kind of cluttered, but it really loses for me that feeling of, I have these fields, look, aren't they wonderful? And then here, you are showing how you are upgrading these 5 parts of your village, the carpentry, brew house, etc. And you're going to upgrade them by spending resources and moving them up this track until they hit rocks, right? Which you then destroy with tools. And once you've destroyed a rock with a tool, you can then continue to move. And as you move this, then this giant house piece, which is doing really, it's pretty. And the only thing that matters is it's got a hole in it. And that hole covers up, it shows you one thing. So this giant house Almost like, it reminds me like a match 3 game where you have to clear everything to make the big thing move down. Same concept here. Once you've moved all 5 of these over by 1, then the giant house goes, moves forward. And if you move it forward far enough, you'll get points. So you could move any one of these individual ones, and as you expose these points on the other side of them, you'll get points at the end of the game. So if you got it like that, then that's going to give you some points. Or you can move them all, and as you move them all, then the giant house will come chasing after your village, consuming your villagers one by one. That's at least in my mind what's going on. Is the giant house has come to life and is consuming your villagers, and you get points for getting them in your belly. Because then they become little villagers that work for you because they go into this little number, and that's how many people you're going to get to work for you every round. Up here, this is where your sheep live and die. What's going on is you're going to take 1 card for each year of the game, and you're going to end up, as you collect sheep, the sheep are going to go on these different fields. So if I get a sheep here, it's going to go right below it on year 4, and what will happen is then any sheep that are on a card, when you get to that card, die. Now, if you can manage to move the sheep 4, 5, 6, and then into the promised land here in the stables, then the sheep will live forever, because that's what happens. You know, if the sheep are in the field, they die of natural causes. But as soon as you put a roof over their head, they live forever. So if you can get your sheep down here, they'll score you some points and live forever. The heart of the game, like many of Uwe's games, are these card decks. These 2 decks can vary. So there's 4 different decks for this stack, 4 different decks for this stack. I am not using the basic deck. I've played 2 games with the basic deck, so I'm using a deck that's more advanced. So we'll see what goes on with that. And then these 2 decks are always going to be the same for your games. These decks give you resources right away when you achieve certain things. They'll give you ongoing income. They'll give you better resources, and they'll give you endgame points. Now, the board is how you're going to claim your actions. And the way it works is everyone has the same color cubes. And you're actually going to seed the board like you see here. So right now there's 1 worker on each space. If someone wants to go here, they have to pay 2 workers. If that's full, someone wants to take it again, they have to pay 3 of their workers. Just for reference, so I'm going to start the game. My window here shows 6, which means I get 6 workers in the first round. We can go ahead and start setting things up. The round has a 10-step overview card, and I'm just going to work through it. You can have it in pictures or words. So first thing we're going to do is with 4 players, you would remove the top row of workers from the board. With 1 to 3 players, you use a card which is going to simulate more activity. So one of these cards, this card shows me in the solo game that I need to remove everything from quadrant 2. So quadrant 2 is here. So I'm going to move the topmost row of workers from quadrant 2. So that's how the workers recycle. It's random. I don't know what's going to come up each turn, what's going to get a little cheaper for the next time. So that's what I do first. Now, I'm going to slide this card up to here, and this is where I'm going to put my workers for the round. I see 6 workers for the round. That's what's showing in my village. So that's what I've got to work with for the round. Now, when I've played all these workers, I can then have that card. That also is the end of the round for me. If you're playing with multiple people, each person takes a turn to do an action. When you choose to pass, you do so, and then you're going to take that card, and then you'll be done and wait for everyone else to finish up. Next thing I would do is if I had any bonus cards, I would activate those. Bonus cards are going to come out of this pile. I need some cards, by the way. I think I start with 4. I didn't set everything up. Oh, I'm such a failure. All right, so set up. I think I start with 4 basics and 1 long-term. Yep, so I get 1 of these. This gives me some goals right away, and we'll talk about them. Like with many of his games, you have reading the game, where you get overwhelmed with all these cards that you're dealing with, and you've got to process through how you're going to trigger what and when and all that stuff. So that can get pretty annoying at times, but that's how his games are. I'm going to move this up a little bit so that I have a place to put all these exciting cards. Oh, so exciting. Okay. So I've got some cards. Let's go ahead and flip them because I need to figure out what I'm doing. So my long-term card in the game is that if I get rid of 8 sheep, I get 12 points. That's what the arrow means. The arrow means get rid of. So that's kind of an end game thing, but it tells me I want to try and get 8 sheep on this board, probably in the sheep promised land, so that then I can turn them into points of victory. So that's going to be a long-term goal. It's nice that you get one of these at the beginning. It gives you some choices. And then I got 4 of these little short-term goal cards. Let's see what they are. So one is showing 1, 2, 3, or 4 hat cards that I've played. So the hat cards are in this stack. So now that gives me a goal. I may want to get more cards out of that stack. And that's notice the difference here. If there's a line, it means spend. If there's a bar, it means achieve. So in this case, once I have achieved this card, I can spend it and get rid of the card, and I will get 0, 2, or 3 meat. I guess I'm going to eat the farmers. That's what's going on here. And then 2 milk. So this card I'll just keep. I can play it at some point. You can play cards at any time. Anytime you qualify for it, you can play the cards. If I have exactly 2 planted fields, then I move the planted fields 1 row up. So remember in my spreadsheet here, I'm going to move things up, and that's going to make them worth more. I'm going to shrink my little face here. Okay, you can see my mess. Oh my gosh, it's horrible. This is how I play my games. All right, but I try to cover it up because I know some of you will get very disturbed if you see that. Anyway. This one, if I get 4 fields, and if I have 4 fields and 3 tools, then I get 3 crops of the same type. Again, I'm not spending them, I just have them. And this one is, if I have 6 or 11 or 16 wheat, I get 1, 2, or 3 tools. So now you see some synergies here that I may want to try and synergize these things to get a lot of wheat quickly to get the tools. And the tools are pretty useful. Now, some of these cards have at the bottom of them a bonus card symbol, which means when I achieve this card, I'm going to get another card. And so you've got some synergy there of using cards to get cards. So those are my initial cards. So now, in typical of this game fashion, you spend a moment and say, what am I going to try to accomplish? So I can see, I want to accomplish 2 planted fields. That's going to let me do this. I would like to get a bunch of wheat all at once, and then I don't have to spend it, I just have to have it, which would get me the tools. The tools and the 4 fields is going to get me this one. So there's a nice combo I can probably run and pull all of these off together. So that gives me one of my goals. I can see I want to try and get some farmer cards in play. Those are nice. And then as the game goes on, I want to try and get some sheep. So now I'm ready to play on the board. So I've got 6 cubes to play this round, and here are all of my choices. Just running through an overview of what the choices are. So some choices give you more sheep. There's a couple ways to get sheep, the weekly market and the sheep market. You can also get sheep if you have milk. You can spend milk to get sheep. There's a couple ways to get clay from nursery and clay delivery and clearing and tool shed. And so clay is something you'll want to pick up at some point, because clays, each of these you're going to be spending resources to upgrade them. So that's one of the overall goals, is to get resources to upgrade these. And I'm just going to do a round, and then you'll see how the upgrade works when I get to it. It's a little funky. The ones in the middle are all related to your fields. So these are going to be how I can put right now I have 1 barley and 1 wheat and 1 of blue thing. I have a blue thing of pretty flower. And so I can plant those in the fields, and then they will produce for me. So I'm going to plant those with these activities. And then there's activities around jewelry. Jewelry we'll talk about later what the impact is, but it's always nice to pick those up if you would like to have something pretty. So the other thing you can do is you can spend your workers to get tools, and I'll talk about the implications of the tools as we get into this. So now I need to figure out what to do. Now I have an initial goal, which is get lots of wheat, because I'd like to accomplish this task. And so I think I want to work toward that. So one way I'm going to do that is by getting some wheat planted, and some wheat planted in fields that are high up. Now, busy weekend right now would only cost me 1 worker because there's no workers here, so that wouldn't be a bad thing to do. That would let me plant 2 of my fields and would get me some wool or milk. But one thing I want to do, I think, is this fertilizing, which lets me move 2 of my empty fields up to row 5. So again, the higher your fields are on this spreadsheet, the more they will produce when they produce. So I think I'm going to fertilize my fields first. So I'm going to go spread some poop on the fields. So there we go. So that cost me 2 cubes because there's already 1 in the 1 cube space. So I get to move 2 of my fields up to row 5. So I'll do that there. And then I get to plant 1 thing. Well, I'm going to go ahead and plant my 1 wheat. Now, if this wheat was up on this marker, so this also shows you how many you had. Let's say my wheat was at 2, then I would make change. I would move it down to 1, and then I would take 1 and put it out in the field. So you can always make change for your quantity of wheat if you need it to plant them. But I just have 1, so I'm going to put 1 up there. All right. So that, and there's no harvest action. You automatically harvest at the end of the round. So you just have to worry about sticking stuff in the ground. The harvesting will happen. All right, that was my first action. I got my wheat planted. I would like to do more of that. So now I need to think about how I'm going to do that. Now, it might take me a couple rounds because I can get that 5 wheat, and the next turn I can plant the wheat all over the place. So I think that's going to be where I want to go with this. So now I wouldn't mind getting some sheep. I'm going to have to get 8 sheep by the end of the game. However, I notice that these cards are currently not going to cost me anything to take one. So I'm going to go ahead and use one of my workers here and get one of these cards. Remember, if I get 1, 3, or 4 of them played successfully, I'll get some free meat and milk. So this card is, if I spend 2, 6, or 9 rings, I get a bonus 0, 5, or 9 rings, and 5 meat, and 1 extra card. So that's kind of a weird one. I'd really have to work on getting lots of rings for that. So I'm not too sure I'm happy about that card, but that is what it is. So now, next. So one of the things I'm always trying to accomplish is getting these goods. I guess I should talk about this for a minute. So these goods I'm going to be spending to move these forward. And when I move them forward, it's going to get me more workers. So ideally, you want to try and get them all moved forward every round at least once. And the number of resources it costs is the number of the round you're on. So in the first round, it tells you on the board, it's going to cost me 1 good in order to move them up 1 space. So if I can get 1 clay, I can move the carpentry up. That sounds like a goal. If I can get 1 barley, I can move the brew house up. I've got 1 right now. I'd rather plant it though and get some of the resources out of it, which I'll get right away. So if I can, maybe I'll do another planting, get these 2 planted. If I can get 1 meat and 1 milk, I can move this forward. For the bakehouse, I need 1 wheat or 1 of those barleys, and manufacture, I need 1 blue flour or 1 animal skin or 1 wool ball. And so ideally, if I get all 5 of these moved up in this first round, the giant house moves forward, which is going to give me an extra worker for the rest of the game. So if you're looking for a meta task, that is your meta task, is try to accomplish that. Now next round, because it's year 2, it's going to cost me 2 resources of what's shown on there to move it up. In round 6, it's going to cost me 6 resources to move it up, and the game is 6 rounds long. So the faster you get after that, the cheaper it is. But of course, you've got 8 cards to work on as well, and the whole game is like, do everything at once. So I would like some clay. Clay is important for me right now. I see in nursery I can get 3 clay for 1 worker. That's not bad. And I could get 3 crops instead. 3 crops would be nice. The tool shed for 2 workers, I could get 4 clay. So I think the better deal is to go ahead and spend 1 worker in the nursery to get 3 clay. And so then I'll take a clay piece and put it on the number 3. So that's how you track the resources that you have. And you'll see by the end, this is just going to be a rat's nest of giant piles of resources. Kind of like my barn. Anyway, I do have a barn, by the way. I live in rural Ontario now on a farm, E-I-E-I-O. And that's why my quality of these videos is not as good as you might see for other people who live, say, where there's high-speed internet. Because I'm streaming, I have to put it at a quality that will allow me to continue to run it. I have signed up for Starlink, so at some point we can have board games with Scott live from space. And then I can up the quality, and that'll be exciting. Anyway, so that is, I'm down to 2 workers for the round. So now I got to figure out, I think I like the idea of planting more because you want to get stuff rolling. So I'm going to put 1 worker on busy weekend. So that lets me take a milk or a ball of yarn. Now I see the cooling house, I'm going to need a milk or a meat. I don't have any meat, so I better go ahead and take the milk. And I didn't get any sheep yet. So that's sad. So let me get a milk. Get 1 milk. And then I have 1 worker left. Things I could get for 1, I could get clearing, which would give me a field and a clay. Or I could get butchery, which lets me kill a sheep and get meat and hides out of it. Or I can spend that worker to get a tool. Now the tools are going to be useful for breaking past these rocks, and they will be useful to have tools later on in the game. No question about that. So I am thinking I'm going to... oh wait, did I miss something? Did I get distracted here? Because I was going to plant those. I got a card. I had a busy... Oh, that's right. A busy weekend, the second part. I get to plant 2 things. So I'm going to plant these 2. By the way, you can't plant milk. You can't plant meat. You can't plant clay. So you can only plant... the game specifies the resource types. It actually shows you at the bottom if you forget. So crops show you what you can plant, and animal products are what you have to make. Okay, so I have 1 worker left. So I'm debating between clearing, which would give me another field to work with, and it would go up, and I'll explain that, and a clay, or getting a tool. At this point, I'm going to get a tool. So I'm going to spend my worker to get a tool. So last worker, I get 1 tool. Now the tools, you get to use the tools repeatedly until the last round of the game. So they're a bit of an infrastructure. You build them up early, they can be quite useful. Okay, so that is it. I've played my workers. Now if it's multiplayers, we'd go around and everyone would play all their workers. And now I get to have this card. Now if I qualify for this card, I can play it right away. You can play cards at any time. So my new card is 4 sheep and a maximum of a number of fields gives me a new field. So that's nice. In fact, if I get my 4 sheep with 3 fields, I'll get a 5-level field. So that might be an interesting thing to attempt to pursue. But that's my card, my free card for coming in. And now here's how the fields go. Every empty field on the field spreadsheet would go up 1 because I'm not using the field that round, so they get better. I then get to move another one up another one. So that might not have been bad to take that other thing, but hey, can't take it back now. So now to harvest, I just move it over, and I move it over, and I move it over. And that's how you harvest. So, and each one that you harvest goes down. So it's very clever. If you use the field, then it goes down. If you don't use the field, then it goes up. That's how the field spreadsheet works. Every sheep gets you a milk. I have no sheep, therefore I get no milk. So now we get to moving the buildings. So this is where you're going to spend, this is kind of like you're feeding the people at the end of the round. This is where you're going to try and get all these buildings moving up because that's going to give you more workers for the future. So we're going to go through each one. Carpentry. I have to spend bricks. I can spend wheat as well, but I have to spend more bricks than wheat. I only spend 1 in the first round, so therefore 1 brick. Let's move carpentry up 1. Now brew house. More grain than hops. Again, I only spend 1, so I can, for 1 move of grain, I can move up by 1. Cooling house, milk or meat. 1 resource, I have 1 milk, I'll spend 1 milk, move it up. Bake house, wheat or barley or blue, max 1 blue. So I'm going to go and spend actually the wheat, I'm wanting to accumulate the wheat for this. Oh, I read that wrong. That doesn't say wheat. That says barley. I already screwed everything up. All right, glad I caught it. So I'm going to go and spend the wheat on that. Might as well. And then manufacture. So this is going to use my balls of yarn or my blue. I have a blue I can use, my little flower, so I move that up. So I've successfully moved all these up. Now the house, bump, 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 bump. So now the house moves up, and now I can see I'm going to get 7 workers next time. Now this is where tools come into play. For whatever reason, in the logic of the game, my buildings have all run into rocks. So now I can use my tools. Now I only have 1 tool, so I can destroy 1 rock, not destroy, but move. Because I don't actually destroy it, I just push it forward. It's like, that's a problem for future Scott, because future Scott a jerk. So I can move 1 of these forward. So I want to figure out which one do I want to move forward. I can't do cooling house. I might as well do the bake house, I guess, because I now have an overabundance of these because I misread the card. So I'm going to spend my 1 tool to move the bake house one up by 1. This has cost me 1, and I move this forward like so, and there we go. That is the round, and then you move these boulders so they are 2 and 4 spaces away from the house. In my mind, this is the fiddly and weird part of the game that logically I can't get my head around what's actually going on here, but you have to fiddle with it. So right now you have to move them all so they all start out 2 and 4 every turn. So anyway, that's the last thing you do. That's the end of the first round. We go on to round 2. So round 2, you move the card up. You take your workers, 7 workers. 7 workers, and then I take another of these quadrant cards here, and this shows me that I'm going to clear out quadrant 3. I don't clear it out, but I take the top row from everything in quadrant 3. So there we go. So that makes these a little cheaper. I would have liked it to have been over here, but oh well. So that's that. Now I activate my bonus cards. I have no bonus cards. Bonus cards would be some of these cards that give you ongoing payment each round, which I have none of yet. They're in this deck. And the way you get that deck is by accomplishing these or by taking the cards. So I have no bonus cards. Now we're back to workers again. Okay, so stuff I need to do. Well, now I need to fix this. I need to plant those things instead. I do have a cultivation available, so that would be nice. What I might do though, so things, I need to start getting sheep. So let's get a sheep. I can get a sheep here for just 1 cube. So that gets me 1 sheep. Now the sheep goes into year 5. He will die in year 5 unless I push him forward into year 6 or push him forward into the promised land. And I also get 1 meat. There we go. Okay, that's good. Now, small trade would let me get 2 crops and a resource and helps me push actually, you know what I'm going to do before I go any further? I'm going to buy one of these. These are the cards that give you bonuses. I'm going to go ahead and get one now because that might give me something to work for. Shoot, more rings. So the game really wants me to get rings. So if I have 5 rings, then for the rest of the game, I'll get 1 meat every round because I'm not sure why. So the game is now encouraging me to begin looking at how do I get rings. And the town hall might be a way I can get rings. But I need 5. That's a lot of rings. Okay, well, that wasn't as exciting as I thought it would be. So I want to get more of that, and I want to get more of that. And that was going to work together. 2 planted fields will be nice. And exactly 2 planted fields. See, if I use my cultivation, I will have 3 planted fields, and that doesn't work. Now, I don't have to plant all 3 fields. It's kind of a sad thing. So I could do the busy weekend again to plant exactly 2 planted fields. In fact, now that I realize it, I had that last turn, didn't I? Oh, well, that's how it goes. I didn't notice it. Now we need to... I should get more sheep. That would be good. But I really want to plant this. So... See well, okay. I think we'll go have a busy weekend. We're going to do that again. So the busy weekend is this. I can get 1 milk or 1 ball of twine. We'll take the ball of twine because the wool. I could get wool from sheep shearing, but I only have 1 sheep, so I'll just get it that way. Now I can plant 2 fields. Now my thought was that I'm going to spend these 2 and plant these 2 here and here. Now I have exactly 2 planted fields, so I get to move the planted fields 1 row up. Boop, boop. And I get to get a card. So that's good. So I'll put that to the side, and I get to get one of these cards. So this card is if I give up 3 clay, I then get an income of 1 wheat and 1 clay. That's really nice. I'm going to make that a new goal. I'm going to get 3 clay and use that. So I can get 3 clay from the nursery. I could get 3 clay from land sale. The land sale would also give me a ring. It's going to slow down me getting that thing, though. But it would get me that thing. I don't know what to do. Actually, what I'm going to do is get some more land out there because I need 4 land here. And I see I can get the clearing for only 1. So the clearing lets me bring in a new plot of land at level 2 and lets me get 1 clay. So that's good. That gives me 3 clay. I'll go ahead and use it. So I spend 3 clay to get this card. Now, this is a bonus card that is going to help me out for the rest of the game. And it's just going to give me an income. So I'll just put it down there. So there we go. Okay. So now I've got my 4 crops, although it just now I need 3 more. So now as I improve this one, I screw this one up. That's how the way the games work. More sheep would be good. I feel at this point I'm shoe shopping a little bit. You know the shoe shopping? It's like when you're in games, you're like, oh, that looks nice and that looks nice, but you didn't actually look at your plan, and then you're like, oh, all I got was, you know, an icy and a Cinnabon at the mall. So I'm kind of at that stage right now. So I need clay because the carpentry, I can't move that up without clay. I may not be moving this up this turn. That's possible. I could put 2 workers there and get 4 clay from the tool shed. Clay delivery gets you clay equal to the round number, which right now is pretty bad at 2. I could sell land here. I don't want to do that. This I'll be able to do this chain very shortly. So I kind of don't want to sell my land yet. I could spend 2 to get another sheep, which might help me towards the 4 sheep thing. I'm kind of thinking I like that idea. That'll get me some more milk. I could also plant. I don't have any hops in the world. Here I could get that. Yeah, let's do that. So I'm going to put one here. So this gives me 2 crops. So I'll get a hops, which I don't have yet. And now that gives me all the crops. And then I can get a second crop of some sort. And I think I'm going to go ahead and just take one of these because I'm going to need a lot of these for this little bonus that's getting ready to come to me. And then I get 1 milk or ball of twine, and I will take the twine I use here. The milk I would use in the cooling house. So kind of, I'm going to get 1 milk from there. I'll get a milk. and then 1 sheep gains +1 round. So this is how my sheep gets to live it a little longer, so I get to move a sheep to there. And if he gets 1 more +1 round, then he goes to the sheep promised land, and he'll be around for the rest of the game. Okay, so I've done that. I've got 1 more worker waiting. So options would be cultivation, which let me plant 3 fields, of which I only have 2. Land sale, I don't want to do that. Butchery, I could kill the sheep and get a bunch of meat and goods. If I want 4 sheep, I don't want to do that. So I'm going to use this last worker and just get another tool because I know the tools are useful. So there we go. Okay, and now it is, I've used all my workers. I get this card. So let's see what I got. And I got immediately played another card that you just got into your hand. I don't know what that means. So we're going to look at the rules. So the rules have on every card further instructions, and sometimes you do need to look at that clarification. By number 713, you've just played another card immediately after you got it into your hand. Play this card together with that other card, but carry out the effects of the other card before you carry out this. Okay, so it means that I have to have a situation where I draw a card that I can immediately play because I qualify for it. So I'm just kind of waiting to see on that one. Okay, that was my freebie. So now we go on to we go on to harvest. So harvest, I'm going to move these 2 fields up 1 because they get better, and then you get to move 1 field up a 2nd space. I then move these 2 people over to here and move these down. So that's how I harvest on the spreadsheet. So that's getting me to where I could qualify for all this stuff. Now I get 1 milk for every sheep I have. I have 1 sheep, I get 1 milk. Now it's time to move the buildings. Now I could trigger all this right now if I wanted. I have 13 of these. If I get 3 more, then I'm going to get 3 tools out of this card. I actually don't need 3 tools out of this card. I actually only need 2 because I've already got 2 tools. So I only need 1 card out of this. So I could go ahead and trigger this stuff, and I think I will. So I'm going to spend 11 of these. And that gets me 2 tools. And that gets me a shop card. So this shop card is, I spend 4 bricks to get 2 bricks in income. So if I had the 4 bricks, I could spend this right now and then get that other card too. But I don't. So I'll just hang on to it for now. And that's, so that is accomplished. So I can put this card away. Now I have 4 fields and 3 tools. So I get 3 crops of the same type. So now I want to look to see what crops could I really use for this right now. I just spent a lot of those. So I could take 3 more of those, and I think I will. Okay. Now I don't have my 4 sheep yet, so I can't get that, but we're getting there. And I don't have anything else. Okay, so that is that. Now we move on to moving these things up. I don't need to spend the barley for the tools, just have it. Is that right? Did I read that wrong? Oh, thank you. Wow, I read that wrong. I spent the barley for the tools. Yes, I read the wrong thing. Okay, I can fix it. I can fix that. Thank you. Yep, 10, and we'll put that back how it was. So 1, 2, 3, 1. Okay, I don't have to spend it, just have it. That's good. All right. Okay, thank you, chat. You saved me from everything. Okay. So now I can do something different. 3 crops of the same type. If I look, I could get my wheat up. I could get hops up. I only have 1 hop. The wheat will be useful with the bakehouse. I think I'll get some hops though. There we go. Okay, all fixed. Huh. I'm glad I'm playing this live. You made me a lot happier. I did grab a bonus card, yeah. So, okay. So that is that. Now, we're back to doing this stuff. So I can, now this is round 2, therefore I have to spend 2 goods. With carpentry, I would have to spend more bricks than wheat, which means for 2, I have to spend 2 bricks. Because if I spent 1 brick and 1 wheat, I would not qualify for more bricks than wheat. I have no bricks, so therefore I'm not moving the carpentry this turn. I'm not going to get another thing. So brew house. Now brew house I can party on. So again, more of this barley than hops, so I'm only spending 2 barley, but I've got a lot, so I'm going to go ahead and spend 2 barley here and move it up here. And then we may later on I'll spend more. I'll come back. I like to do 1 on everything and then come back and figure out how to spend all of my tools. So now we are to cooling house. I need 2. I will spend. I'll spend 2 milk because it's easy to get more milk. So move that up. My bake house is already up, so I'll come back to that. My manufacture is I can spend a ball of, actually I can spend the ball of yarn and 1 of the blue flowers, and that goes up. It's too bad I screwed up with the carpentry because that would be nice. But now I've got 4 tools and lots of resources, so I can continue to spend those. Now the tools lets me bump this up. So I see the brew house right now, I'm in good shape. I got all sorts of stuff, and the bake house is in good shape. So we'll do the bake house because I don't have to spend a tool on that. So I'll go ahead and spend 2 on that. And then I'll use my first tool on the brew house. So 2 there to move the, so the tool moves the rock up and that goes up. I'll go ahead and spend a second tool to move the bake for this rock, and then that lets me spend on the bake house 2 of those, get rid of those. Okay, I've got 2 tools remaining. A carpentry is still sitting there being a jerk. Cooling house, no. So it's really these ones that I've got lots of resources for. But the problem is now the rocks are all piled up, so I have to spend 2 tools to move them because I got to move both rocks. And I don't really want to, I want to keep my blue for the manufacturer. So I'll just move either brew house or bake house. So we'll go ahead and put these 2 up for the last 2 tools. And brew house, I'm going to do this by 2, and that's the end of the round. So that was a crazy round. I didn't get to move my giant house, though, because the carpentry is still in the way, but I helped with some of the others. Now you got to move this all around like so and so and so. So they all have to be at steps 2 and 4 away from their things. If you do push them off the board, they stay off the board. So that's good. Reset my tools, and we're on to round 3. So round 3, let's get rid of some stuff. And 4. So I take off the top row of everything in 4. And I get 7 workers for the round. Okay, there we go. Now, activate my bonus cards. I have 1 bonus card. This gets me 1 wheat and 1 brick. I'm going to need bricks this turn. That's going to be really important. And we're off and running. Now, I'd like to get 3 more sheep. That would get me a free field here. As far as these farmer cards, I'm not doing very well with them at all. If I could get 4 bricks, I could spend them to get a 2 brick resource. So that would be nice. I can get one of those cards pretty cheaply. That's an endgame goal card. And I'd like to try and get this magic card that I have in hand. So looking at the board, I can see, do I have a cheap sheep? I have a cheap sheep. We'll get the sheep market. So one sheep. Now it's picking it up in round 3, so it goes down to this card. And 1 hide. Hide from the sheep. Okay, there's that. Now, a tool shed is available. We'll go out and hang out the tool shed. That'll give us 4 clay, which we're going to need. I'm very tempted to lock that in, but we'll see what happens here. Let's see. Oh, okay, this is nice. The town hall. I can do this and move a building back 1. So I will move that brew house back 1. That gets me 2 rings. That starts me on this ring nonsense over here. Yeah, so Julian had a question about 2 players got 5 tools pretty early on and sort of coasted, just moving each column every round. As compared to the strategy of shooting 1 forward. Well, the nice thing, if you shot 1 forward in 1 round, you would no longer have to worry about producing those kinds of resources. It can be pretty easy to produce a lot of one kind of resource, and so you could pile in on that, push it up, and then, but I don't know if that's the best thing to do, because I don't know. Not Yet Breathing says it wouldn't be a winning strategy. But who cares about winning? Okay, so now I'm up again. I see that cultivation looks attractive, the land sale. So the rings here, if I were to spend 6 rings, I get 5 rings, 5 meat, and a card. If I get 5 rings, then I get meat every turn. I'm at 2 rings. I could go for that, you know. But I think I'm going to do some cultivation here because I can do that for 1 cube. So I'm going to plant some stuff. I'm going to plant one of these blue things. So some flour. And I'm going to plant some more of that. And I'll go ahead and plant some more wheat. Okay, so that's my cultivation. Okay. Now I want more sheep. I have 3 workers left. Clay, I've got some clay. I'm okay there. My manufacture would be nice. To do that, I have to kill a sheep, but I want to get 2 more sheep to help me with this goal here. So I could get 2 more. I could get 1 more sheep right now and some meat with it. So do I want meat or do I want product? I'm going to get milk out of these. So I think I'm going to do this sheep market here to get another sheep. And that's going to be a death time if I don't get some of those off of there, and I get 1 more hide. And that leaves me with 1 worker left. I could sell that piece of land to get a jewel and 3 clay. But it's nice land. It's very fertile land, so I probably want to use it. I could butcher a sheep, but I just got the sheep, so I don't really want to do that. So I guess the best thing, I could grab a long-term card and see what happens there, but I think I'm going to go ahead and get a tool with it because tools are handy to have. Okay, so that ends that part of the round. Now let's see what my guard is that I got. And I got, so if I spend either 1 ring or 3 tools, I get 7 clay. Okay, now things get interesting because I have this card that if I immediately play something when I draw it, I get another bonus, and I think it's time. Well, I'm going to go ahead and do the ring because, well, or I could do the 3 tools. Because the rings are going to help me on these 2 things. And they're kind of hard to get. I'm going to spend, I think, the 3 tools. I may regret that forever. No, I'm going to spend the ring. Spend the ring. So 1 ring, and that one is a spend because there's an arrow there as compared to the line. For 7 bricks. I didn't expect the 7 bricks. That's nice. So it's another 5 and another 2. So that card is 1 farmer card that I've played. So this is something I could claim at this point. But I'm going to hold off. Now I immediately played another card that I just got into my hand. So now I get this. I get 1 crop and 1 milk. So I get a milk and a crop. And I see that hops are my lowest after I harvest. So we'll take a hops. And that gets me also a bonus card, as you can see. And the bonus cards sometimes come into play. That's my 2nd farmer card. So this one is I could spend a hop now to get a barley income. We're going to do that. So I'll spend that hop, and this is now becomes a income card that I get. So you get a lot of these combos in the game, and you got to decide if you want that kind of thing or not. Okay. Now, I think I'm going to go ahead and get this one going too. For 4 clay, I then get an income of 2 clay every round. So now that I have this surprise clay, we're going to go ahead and spend some of it and get that going. Look at all that craziness. Okay, we got some kind of a machine happening. That was a good end round. Now, we got a harvest, so this goes down, and this goes over and down. This one goes up, this one goes here and down. Okay, that's my harvest. I milk my sheep. I have 3 sheep, so I get 3 milk. And now comes this building part. So now I can start using all that clay that I got, so that's handy. So the carpentry is the one. Now this turn, it's 3 goods to move it, or 2 goods if you use 2 different types of goods. So with carpentry, 3 goods, so it would be 3 bricks, or 2 bricks and 1 wheat, because you have to spend more bricks than wheat. The problem is, normally, if you spend 2 types of goods, you could only spend 2, but I can't then meet this qualification of the more. This is the tricky thing, and the rules do go into detail on it, but it means that in some rounds, it's easier to move things than others. This round for carpentry, I can spend 2 clay and 1 wheat and move it forward. Cooling house needs to go up next. Again, now this case, because there's no greater than, if I can spend 1 meat and 1 milk, I qualify for the 2 goods using 2 types. I will do that. I'll spend 1 meat and 1 milk and move the cooling house up. Manufacture, again, if I can spend 2 different types of goods, I only have to spend 2, so I'll spend 1 blue and 1 hide and move that up. Now the carpentry, I need to get that up again. So I'll use my first tool to move the rock forward. And again, for carpentry, it's going to be 2 brick and 1 wheat to move it up. So now they're all even. So now I just want to keep moving things up that I can. The brew house, I could take it up. So I need to spend 2 of these. I could spend 3 of the barley, or 2 barley and 1 hop. So we'll spend 2 barley and 1 hop to move it up. Cooling house, manufacture carpentry. So manufacture, I would need, I don't have wool. I could do manufacture again. So I'm going to spend a tool to move that rock up. The manufacture cost me the hide and the blue. So to move it up. The bake house, I can move up for just 2 goods. So I'll do that for that one and that one. Move that up. And by the way, when you're playing this multiplayer, everyone does this at the same time. So everyone's just going to be muttering to themselves, sliding things up like that. Okay, so now I have 3 tools left. The brew house is more expensive. The cooling house, it would cost me 3 milk to do. But I've got 3 milk. I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'll spend that. I'll move the rock up. I'll spend my 3 milk. Move that up. So all these are used. I'll get these out of the way so they don't get confusing. All right, so I have 2 tools remaining. So these are the good deals right here. So I could move, I think what I'm going to do is spend the 2 tools to move these 2 rocks up. And then for my, oh, nope, never mind. I don't get the discount if I do that. This one, I guess, is what I want. I can't do that anymore. So 1 rock for the bakehouse up, and then I move both of these down 1. That gets the bakehouse to there. Carpentry. Oh, that was dumb. All right, I'm going to undo that. Put those 2 back. Because I want to spend the 2 rocks to move the carpentry, those 2 rocks, and the carpentry now I need 3, which is what I have with this brick. So that gets the carpentry up. That was good. So now I made up for my last round shenanigans. So the giant house comes forward. I'm going to eat you. And now that jumps me up to 10 workers. Out of control. Okay, it was a crazy round. Rearrange the boulders at 2 and 4, at 2 and 4, at 2 and 4, and 2 and 4. And this is what I meant early on when I said the first time you play, you're going to be like, how do I do everything? And you have to conceptualize that this is really the goal, is, as Julian said, that you've got to have a diverse assortment of crops in order, and take advantage of these discounts in order to really push this forward. And the tools are really handy for that. Because if you don't have the tools, you're going to get blocked up. So even if you don't, and that's why it's worth it to go ahead and get those tools, because they're going to serve you every round and help you deal with your blockages. Tools are kind of like a laxative for your game. They help things just, I should just stop that analogy. Actually, the analogy that I didn't go down was the first player marker. So yeah, we'll just leave that. I'll just put this below the screen level. Okay, we're not going to continue with these jokes. Okay, here we go. The bonus card, it's over here. I just had slid it out. It got eaten up with my sleeve. Okay, here we go. So now we're on round 4. Quadrant card is quadrant 1 question mark 2. So when it has a question mark, you roll a die. Die not included. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 is, I do even odd. So 2 gets cleared out. So that's going to be that, and that, and that. But you had lots of tools. So there you go. And so now I get my 10 workers. 10 workers! Oh my gosh, so crazy. Oh, there's that. Okay. So that's that. Now let's look to see where I want to go here. I'm still 5. Oh, I get my bonus cards. So my bonus cards gives me a wheat and a clay and a barley and 2 more clay. So that's how those work. And now we are ready to do stuff. So let's figure out what I need to do. So as before, get everything. So I want to do some planting probably. I think I need 1 more sheep to get the 4 sheep card. So I definitely want to do that. I would like to get 2 more farmer cards. So farmer card is free right now, or not free, but 1 worker, and that might get me this bonus. And so I kind of want to go for that. that lets me know what to do in the round. So I'm going to do that first. So I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to get one of these cards. So this one is an action space is fully occupied. Then I get a sheep and a field. Oh, that's cool. So that I will actually just do that right now. So let's take care of that. This space, the sheep market, if I spend 3 workers on the sheep market, it fully occupies the action space. That gets me 1 sheep. Now, from this point on, because we're down here, sheep go to the promised land. So they are going to be locked in for the rest of the game, and they'll get me bonus points. So that's good. I get 1 animal hide. And he went here. And my bonuses for that is another sheep and a field at level 2. So that's pretty cool. So that's my 3rd farmer. Now, I could use this at this point, and it's going to get me 2 meat and 2 milk because I've done 3 farmer cards. So yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll wait on that because I may get, oh yeah, because this is a farmer card too. And if I can get this card out, which is my plan, which I can do right now. So, oh shoot. Okay. Yeah, I couldn't combo that in any other way. So that's fine. So I will trigger this card. I have my sheep. I have a max of I actually have 5 fields now. So I get a level 3 field for free. So I've got it 5, so level 3, and that finishes the farmer card. So that's the 4th farmer card. That now finishes this one. So I have 4 farmer cards, which gets me 3 meat, because I'm going to eat the farmers. And 2 milk. I'm going to milk the farmers. And we're going to put that up there. Okay, now we're getting our cards figuring out. If I could, now this one is I spend 8 sheep to get 12 points. I don't really want to do that right now. That's kind of an end game thing, but to do that, I'd have to save some of these sheep, which I could do. There's some sheep saving spaces, and I may want to work towards that. I still need the jewelry, and actually I've got all this land now, so I'm going to do the land sale there. So I get rid of 1. I'll get rid of the one I don't like. I get 1 jewelry, and I get 3 clay for that. Okay, so now I'm kind of looking to see what's out there that's cheap. More clay is good. I could eat me a sheep and get lots of meat and butch, but I kind of want sheep at this point because I'm trying to get that 8 sheep. My other cheap card is an endgame card, which I could get for points, but points are so boring. Who wants points? Ugh, I want to do stuff. Okay, so how am I looking here? I got lots of bricks. I got some wheat. I've got lots of fields that could be planted on, so that wouldn't be bad. I could fertilize and plant one. I could, another cards are always good. The nursery is looking attractive because it's only 1. The clearing is always nice to have more fields. Small trade would let me, and sheep shearing. Let's shear some sheep, shall we? So I haven't done that yet. So for two workers, I get 1 wool per sheep. I have 5 sheep, so I'm gonna make 5 wool, and 1 sheep gains around. So that lets me move 1 of the sheep down here into the stables and into the promised land, so that sheep will not die. So that was good. Now, if I look to see what I'm going to need meat and milk. I'm going to need more. So I think I want to do a little planting. And my planting options are, I have 2 good fields and I have 3 crappy fields. So I think I really just want to plant in 2 fields and let the others get better for the future. So I could do that. Cultivation would plant 3 fields, or busy weekend. I'm going to do busy weekend here. So that gets me either milk or more wool. I'll get a milk. I'm getting ready to get all sorts of milk, though, so I'll take a wool instead. And then I get to plant 2, and I'll plant my, I'll plant my 2 really important ones, this and this, and I'll plant them up here. I'm going to need more of that, and I'm going to need some of that. I'm wondering if I should actually plant my flowers instead. I'm going to plant flowers instead of this wheat, because my bakehouse is up a little bit, so I'm going to plant flowers. So I'll go there, fix that, go there with that. Okay, there we go. Okay, so that's that. I've got 1 worker left. I could make him into a tool. I could get an endgame card for more points. I could get another field out there for the clearing and a brick, or I could get 3 bricks or 3 crops. I've got 5 tools. I think we're going to do a clearing because I think next turn we're going to do a big planting. So that gets me a field at level 2 and 1 brick. That ends the round. I've spent all my guys. So that's where I get this card. This card, if I spend a ring, I get 2 farmer cards. Well, that sounds like synergy waiting to happen, doesn't it? So I'll spend a ring. And that gets me, it gets me not only 2 farmer cards, but 2 bonus cards. So that's a card bonanza. So we're going to spend that card. That's used. So I get 2 of these. Oh, this is going to go crazy, isn't it? And I get 2 of these. Well, let's see what all I can do here. Look at all this. Oh my gosh. All right. So if I have 6 meat, I get a meat income. I only have 3, so I don't qualify for that. If I have 3, 5, or 7 rings and 6, 8, or 10 tools, I get flowers. I don't have that. I could spend a sheep to get an income of 2 tools and 2 clay and a bonus card. I'm going to do that. I'll spend this. No, not yet. I will after I milk my sheep. So ZZ's asking what's the story. The story is that they're in the stables. I'm going to say they're in little sheep heaven up here. That's what's going on. No, this is the stables where they live forever. So I do want to do that, but I'm going to hold off on that until a little further because you can play cards at any time. So for each empty field, so now I do this. I move the empty fields up. Boop, 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 boop. I move the harvested fields. I harvest and I move those down. Boop, boop. And then 1 milk for each sheep, 5 milk. So get another milk token on 5. Now it's the time to turn the sheep into brick and tools. So I'm going to spend this card, and this card gets me for 1 sheep. I get 2 brick. This is where it starts to get really fiddly-diddly with all these resources. And 2 tools. More tools. And a bonus card. And so this one, if I spend 2 meat, I get a sheep income. What's going on there? I have made a sheep. Sorry, that's where my brain goes. So right now, for 2 meat, I would get 1 sheep. I would get 2 sheep, basically, because there's 2 rounds left of the game. For the cooling house, I'm going to need to... I want to make sure I can still move the cooling house up if I did this, and I can. So I'm gonna do that. Oh yeah, I've got plenty of milk. So yeah, I'm going to spend 2 meat to get this card, which is going to give me a sheep income, and it's also points at the end of the game. You get points for that. So it's down there. Oh, thank you. One of my fields can increase twice. Yeah, that's a weird rule, and it's a rule that I easily forget. So one of the fields you can push it up a second. So you push up all your empty fields, and then 1 field you can push up a second time. So actually, I think I'll do that one to get more that are even. There we go. Okay, so I don't have 6 meat. In fact, I even have less now, but that's okay because I got some more sheep incoming. So now we are to the dance here. So carpentry. So now I have to spend 4 goods to move a village up 1, or 3 goods using 2 different types. So now this is where the carpentry and the brew house can take advantage of theirs, because then I have to spend more bricks than wheat. So I can spend 2 bricks and 1 wheat. That qualifies as 2 different types of goods, and 3 goods using 2 types. So that's where this kind of changes around. So carpentry, so 2 bricks and 1 wheat. And that lets me move the carpentry up. Brew house, 2 barley and 1 hops. And let's move that up. Cooling house, 1 meat and 2 milk. That lets me move that up. Manufacture. So we've got 1 hide and, actually we got 1 ball of yarn and 1 flour, and that lets me move that up. Now they're all even. So now I can start using tools to continue this process. I might have enough to do everything a second time. So we'll spend 1. We'll move this rock up. Carpentry, so 2 brick and 1 wheat, and I move the carpentry up. Spend 1 tool. Brew house, move this rock up. Brew house, 2 barley and 1 hop. Move that up. Cooling house, spend 1. Move that. Now I don't get the discount because I don't have any meat, but I can spend 4 milk because I can spend 4 goods. And so 4 milk, we can do that to there. Bakehouse. I haven't actually moved it yet because it was already ahead. So I'm going to go ahead and I can spend, how do I want to pull this off? 1, so 1, 2, if I want to do the brew house, well now it's going to start getting tighter. The carpentry, 3. So bakehouse goes up, and now manufacture, I'll spend the tool to move the rock up. So for manufacture, at least 2 different types. So I'll spend a ball, and then another ball, and actually I'll spend 1 ball and 2 blue, and that moves that up. And I still got 3 more tools, so we're still going. So bakehouse is going to be cheaper for only 1 tool. I can move that up. So for the bakehouse, then I'll move 1 flour and 2 of these to get that up. That leaves me with 2 left. So 2 is going to be good for moving 1 thing up. And I think we'll do the carpentry. It seems that's what I've got. So move that tool and move that tool. And then move this up and get rid of this, and that's carpentry up. And there we go. So that was a big round of moving things up. Yeah, Julian, this makes no sense thematically at all. And I wish it wasn't so fiddly, but it's kind of enjoyable to move things around. I didn't know if I'd like that or not. I have to say I like this better than Tetris in Feast for Odin. Feast for Odin was another one of his games which you played Tetris, basically, trying to stack things, and that, like, this makes no sense, and I don't like what I'm doing. So this is not as bad as that is for me. So now the giant house comes attacking. All right, your face. And now I'm up to 12 workers for round 5. Wow, out of control. All right, now we move the boulders 2 and 4 away from each building. So we're getting to the point now where we're going to start getting points as we move these guys up. So that's good. Oh, and I slid things around a little much, so be careful. I'm excited. All right, here we go. Now we see round 5. So card 1, quadrant 1, gets stuff taken away from. This card goes up here. I got 1 sheep that's going to die if I don't get it down into the sheep promised land. And that, if I want 12 points, I need to have 8 sheep by the end of the game. Might be a goal to go for. 6 meat might be nice to get that 6 points is really what I'm looking at there. My rings, the game wants me to get rings and I'm failing at it miserably, but that's okay. Now I get all my income here, so I get 1 of those. That's good. I spent them all. I'm going to need to plant them. 1 clay, 1 of those, 2 clay, 1 sheep. So that's all my income. Now we are to our workers. I have 12 workers, out of control. Okay, here we go. Now, rings would be nice, really nice. I need to plant, no question about that. So let's start by planting. So my farming is nice and cheap. I get to move up 4. Or I can move 1 field to level 5 or plant 4. So we're going to plant 4. So 1, and that one, and we'll plant that one, and we'll plant that one. Okay, that's a good start. So that gives me some products to use next turn. Now, I got lots of clay. I need 4 more sheep. If I had milk, I could do sheep breeding, and that would let me, I need to get 3 more sheep by the end of the game. So we're getting somewhere there. I could do some butchery, but that kind of goes counter to, so the butchery would get me this card. I would need to kill 2 sheep in order to do that, so that's not very good. Okay. So I think I need to work on just getting more sheep. I think that's that. I'm going to go for that 8 sheep as a goal. So we're going to put 2 sheep in the weekly market, and that, or 2 workers in the weekly market. That gets me 1 sheep and 1 meat. Actually, you know what I could do here if I want to get this card out? Oh, rings. 4, how can I get rings? Town Hall will get me rings. That has to move a building to the left. That's pretty pricey. But if I want to go for one of these things, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tools, so I'd need one more tool and 5 rings, then I could do both of these things. 6 rings would take me to here. Okay. I think I'm going to go for some of this craziness. All right, so we're going to go to Town Hall. We're going to move this building back to the left. That's going to give me 2 rings. That puts me at 3 rings. Now, I think I'm going to go for all the rings and try to do all this. Okay. So I'm going to spend another 3 workers on Town Hall. I'm going to move this back to the left, and that's going to get me 2 more rings. So that puts me at 5 rings. Now I'm going to do a land sale and get rid of this piece of land. That gets me a ring to 6 rings and 3 clay. Now I can start triggering cards. So with this, oh, that's, okay, yeah, that's fine. So this card, I can spend 6 rings to get 5 rings and 5 meat and a card. So I'm going to spend 6 rings to get 5 rings and 5 meat. See where that's going? I needed lots of meat. 5 meat and 1 of these cards, which could be useful. So that's another farmer card we've played. So this one, if I spend 3 rings, I get an income of a ring. That's not so attractive to me at this stage in the game, but it is worth 8 points. So I may do it at the end of the game if I don't need the rings for anything else. I have 5 rings, therefore I qualify for this card, which gets me a meat every round. I have 6 meat, so I qualify for this card, which gets me a meat every round. If I get 1 more tool, which I shall get right now with a worker, 1 more tool. So now I got this one, which gives me 5 rings. I have 5 rings and 8 tools, which gets me 3 blue and gets me another card. So this one, if I spend 3 crops of the same type, I then get a hop every round. We'll hold on to that. I might need that later. Okay, so that's good. I only have 1 worker left after all that craziness, but that was good. Now the rings have another role. The rings are going to be 1 point at the end of the game, although I can see 3 rings are going to get me 8 points. But you can also spend a ring to pay for all of the costs for 1 building step. So that becomes a little bit better as the game goes on. So that might be really useful in the final round. So I've got 1 worker left. I could get a pile of clay. I could kill a sheep, but I'm not needing that. I could get another tool. I probably don't need that. I'm going to look here and see what I'm weak on. I could get another endgame card, and those can be good chunks of points. It's kind of a crapshoot if it's what I can turn something into. I could get 5 clay. My clay is pretty solid right now. I don't have any milk. So, and I think I'm okay on tools. I'm going to go for an endgame card. See what I get. So this is if I have 8 fields, I get 13 points. So that means to get this one, I'll need to make 3 more fields because I've been selling them off. So we'll see, have to make some decisions on what I'm going to go for endgame. That takes me to the end of the round. Now I get this farmer card, and this card gets me, if I have 1, 2, or 3 planted flower fields, I get 1, 3, or 4 balls of yarn. I could use this right now, or I could save it for next turn and get a lot of yarn. I think I will save it and see if I can do better with that. Okay, so that is that. And now I move this empty field up. I claim all of these over to here. I move these fields down. Fiddle, fiddle. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sheep. I get 6 milk. And now I'm moving the buildings. So here we go. Now I'm going to need 5 goods if they're of 1 type, 4 goods if they're of 2 types, or 3 goods if they're of 3 types. So carpentry, I'm going to need 4 goods of 2 types. I'm going to spend 3 clay and 1 wheat to move it up 1. Brew house, I'm going to spend 3 of those barleys and 1 hops to move it up 1. Cooling house, I will spend 2 meat and 2 milk to move it up 1. Bakehouse, yeah, see, this is where I'm getting a little weak. I'm going to spend 2 wheat and 2 of those to move it up 1. Manufacture, there I'm okay. So, oh, wait, ooh, I can save a little bit here. Let me undo that. Because if I spend, I can just spend 1 of each of 3 types of goods. So I can spend 1 of my blues. So I could spend 1 wheat, 1 barley, and 1 blue to move the bakehouse up. So that's good. Manufacture, again, if I can do 1 of each kind, it's just going to be 3. So 1 blue, 1 wheat, 1 ball. Okay, so that's 1. Now we're going to see what we can do more of and start using our tools for that. So manufacture and bakehouse are the bargains this turn because I can do 1 of each things. Chuck Razor asked where I think this ranks in terms of weight for Uwe's games. What this does, on the surface, I'd say it's more complex. It's more tactical than Agricola. So with Agricola, you have your 2 hands of cards, and you can really plan things out. And this one, the cards come pretty fast, and so you've got to sort of deal with jump-on situations. So it's more tactical than that. This, only 1 color workers, this is something we've seen in some of his other games, this concept. This is pretty simple. They're always straightforward. You've got the same set of actions. So this is simpler. People are either going to love or hate this, whether they get their head into spreadsheets or not. I hate it because I don't feel like I'm actually growing anything. I love it because I'm a math major and a geek, and I appreciate how clever this is and how it handles pretty complex stuff easily, but I really miss having my fields to look at. I'm much more pleased by watching sheep grow in the fields than I am by playing crop spreadsheet. This is fiddly as all get out, but it does give you it gives you a reason to get lots of different stuff. So I'm not so sure on that. Oh, and I notice I'm not done yet. Sorry, I need to, so I guess I don't have a good answer for you. The different parts are different. So now I've got to figure out what I can do more of. So I will spend 1 on the carpentry, and I need to, this is 2 and 2 or 3 and 1. So 3 bricks and 1 wheat. My brew house, I can spend a tool on the brew house and get 1 more out of it. So with 2, no, I can't. So I need more wheat and I don't have that. So I cannot do the brew house again. So I'd have to do 3 wheat or 3 barley and 1 hops to do the brew house. I don't have 3 barley, so I can't do that. Cooling house, I've got product for, so I'll spend 1 on the cooling house. And that can be 2 and 2 or 3 and 1. I might use my milk next turn for breeding. So to do that, I need to keep 4 milk. So I can spend 3 meat and 1 milk. That'll keep me the 4 milk for my breeding. That gets the cooling house up 1. I got points. Yay, we revealed some points. So we're getting somewhere. Bake house, these are the bargains. So I can spend 1 and 1 and 1 to move that up. Manufacture, we'll spend 1 on the rock to move there because I can do 1. Oh, I don't get the big bargain, but that's okay. I can spend 2 and 2 there to get that up. Look at all those points that are showing up. Woohoo! And I'm out of bricks, I'm out of brew house, and I'm saving. So that's it. So that's where I can move for the round. So the giant house moves up. Now the giant house keeps me at 12, but now I got 18 points for where the giant house is. So you can do quite well as you keep moving that up. And now I could use my rings at this point if I wanted to get these up, but I'm not going to get anything more for them right now. The rings are still going to count the same next turn. I'm still only going to get 12 workers. So there's no reason for me to push and use the rings. Okay, so that is it for that round. Rearrange the boulders. So that's gone, that's gone, that's gone. Oh, I have more tools. So actually, there's a little trick I can use here. I can I can spend some tools to get these rocks off the board, and they're not going to harass me at all. So I think next turn, what am I going to have a lot of? So I can spend 1 tool to move this off, and 2 more tools to get rid of that. And I can spend 1 tool. The rest don't matter. No, 2 tools to get the one off the bakehouse. Okay, there. So that helped once you get them off the board. So there we are. So that helps. Now, as we move into the final round, rearrange the boulders. Yeah, I'm doing pretty well in this game. I'm pretty happy where we're sitting, even though I almost screwed everything up, but you saved me. So here we go. 3 or 4. 3 or 4. 4 is what gets cleared. So 4 gets cleared. Well, not cleared, but the top row of each goes away. That's gone. All that's gone. This sheep dies. And it goes up here. Now I'm going to get 12 workers for the round. Okay, yay, there's 5 and 10 and 2 more. 12 workers. And that's that. Bonus card. So we get 1 wheat, 1 brick, 1 barley, 2 brick, 1 sheep, 2 meat. Okay, that's the bonus cards. Actually, I don't think they do. I seem to remember reading in there that if you get a rock off the board, it doesn't come back in. You can move boulders off the right edge. If you do leave them there, you will not have to move them anymore. Oh, do they actually come back in, though? Oh, poop. Let's look here. Boulders off. Oh, yes, you can. It is further possible for boulders that are off board to move on board again. So the boulders reappear, jerk boulders. I thought I was being clever, but I wasn't being clever. Oh well. So, all right. Bonus cards I did. Workers, 12 workers. Okay, so what do I need to accomplish? If I planted some flowers in fields, I would be able to get some wool. If I get 8 fields, I'd need 3 more fields this round to get that. That's a pretty big hit. I can spend 3 crops of the same type for that 5 points. 8 sheep. I'm going for the 8 sheep, certainly. I can spend 3 rings to get that 8 points, which would be nice. But I'm keeping the rings right now because I don't know if I'm going to need them. And then 2 hops will get me those points. So these are things I could get for points right near the end. I need to get 2 sheep. And I could do sheep breeding. So that seems a pretty good price. 1 block, 4 milk, gets me 2 sheep. So there we go. All right, I'm going to have my 8 sheep to spend. By the way, at the end of the game, you get 1 chance to spend as much as you want on these cards. So you can wait and use them all up before you then send them off to the great victory point deity in the sky. Now, if I could get a hold of 3 fields, that would let me do the 8 fields. I can get a field there for 1. I can get a field there for 2. I can only get 2 fields from what I see on the board. So another possibility is go for a card and see if it gives me another field. I mean, I may do it just to see what I get. Am I missing anywhere else to get a field? Oh, there are. Clearing, farming, tool shed. So I do have a way to get 3 fields. But you know what? I'm feeling frisky. I'm going to take a card and see if that gets me what I'm looking for. So here we go. By the way, if you were playing this with multiple players, when you go to the card spot, as you see, it also shows this. And you get to take this. This is the first player marker. But someone else can take it away from you. So whoever's hanging on to it at the start of the next round gets to be first player. Oh, there's so much filth I want to say right now with this. Whoever's hanging on to it at the first round gets to be the first player. And different people can... I better put this down. Okay, so here we go. So this is a total of yarn and hides equal to the number in the window for 3 meat. That's not going to happen. So that was just a bust. Oh well, we went for it. No good. So I think if we want the 3 fields, that's going to get me 13 points. That's nice. That's worth pursuing. I've got my sheep points. So we're going to put 2 on farming. That gets me a field at level 5. We're going to put 2 on clearing. And that's going to get me 1 at level 2. Yes, Michael, this is a rooster. That's what it is. We're going to call it a rooster. And therefore, I'm just going to put it down here. I'm just going to leave it. I'm just going to put it down below the level of this. I'm just going to stop talking about that right now. Anyway, I make my own stories about games sometimes and what is actually going on. And I'm not going to tell you that story right now because this is a family show. Okay, here we go. I'm distracted now. All right, so I was getting a field at level 2 and 1 clay. All right, and then the tool shed. Welcome to the tool shed. That's where you... Stop. All right, so that gets me a field at level 4. And so now I have my 8 fields. So I'm going to get that. I have my 8 sheep, so I'm going to get that. So those are good. Now I think I want to plant because of all these fields. Yeah, I could go for a points card. All right, fine. Okay, we'll go for it. What are we going to get? Is it good? 10 hops gets me 10 points. Okay, we can do that. Sure. So for that, I need to plant. And so it's time to do some planting. So for 2 here, for 2 I could plant 3. For 1 I can plant 1 and move some. So we're going to do the 2 for 3. And I will spend the 2 here, and I will drop those 2 hops up top here. Okay. Now, I'm going to spend, I think, 1 on fertilizing, which lets me move 2 fields up to row 5. And then I can plant 1 thing. I'm not going to do that well in this final round. I can see that, but I definitely need more of these guys. Okay, that leaves me 1 worker. I could just grab 3 crops. I could turn a sheep. I could eat a sheep. Well, do I have 8? I have exactly 8, so I can't eat a sheep. I could get another tool. Those are not as important. I could get a bunch of clay. I can see I'm going to be low on all sorts. I guess I'll go to the nursery and get these 3 crops here. Okay, well, we'll see. And so now I'm out of my workers. We'll get my card and see if it does anything for me. So this card, if I spend a ring, I then get 1 crop and 3 tools. The rings are 1 point each. I'll wait. I may want to use this at some point, but we'll hold on to it. We'll hold on to it. So I do have this 3 crops of 1 type gets me points. So now we're just kind of in our final go. So I didn't accomplish this because I got distracted by Julian telling me to get 10 points. So now I don't get that. Thanks, Julian. Okay, anyway, here we go. So we are going to harvest this and this and this. And these 3 go down. These all go up, although it doesn't matter. The second one goes up a second time. It's a tough rule to remember. I get to milk, so I'm going to milk this joke for all I can get. And now I'm going to get 5 milk and 3 milk. Okay, now time for this nonsense. Now what I'm going to do is I don't want to screw up and use something that I need to use here. So I'm going to go ahead and use some of these now so that I don't mess it up. So 10 hops. We'll get rid of 10 hops to get 10 points. So get rid of those. So that's locked in. 8 sheep for 12 points. So bye-bye. Of course, so here's something interesting. And I'm realizing those 8 sheep are worth 8 points anyway. So this card is really only a net 4-point card. So it's not quite as interesting as it seems, other than it encourages you to get 8 sheep, which is useful. But yeah, now that I think about it, that's a little sad panda. All right, bye-bye. So 8 sheep for 8 points. I can do this one. So 8 fields for 13 points. So the fields are all gone. I don't need to worry about those. Okay, so that's that. That's not happening. That's not happening. I've got rings for 8 points, which I may be doing. We'll see if the rings are better used here or there. I'm not going to get this hops because I spent a bunch of hops on what I just did. This I might get if I have leftover crops. So these are kind of the 3 I have left to play with as I try to move these up. Now during this final round, you will use your tools. They're gone, so that's your last round. So let's see what we can do. Now I need 6 goods of a type to move it up. If I'm using 2 different types, I need 5 goods. If I'm using 3 different types, you need 4 goods. So it's expensive. So here we go. Carpentry, more bricks than wheat. All right, so I have a total of 8 bricks and 4 wheat. So that's enough to move carpentry twice. I'm going to move things once and catch everything up, and then we'll see where we sit. So carpentry, we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that moves the carpentry up. Again, 2 types of goods means I can spend 5, and I have to spend more bricks than I spend wheat. Brew house. So this is where it's not so nice. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So I'm out of hops at this point. So the brew house is probably going to be a sticking point or a point where I use rings. We'll see. I'd like to keep 3 rings for that, but I could use 2 rings if it's going to help me. That gets me all done, covered up there, so that gets me more points in that. So now we're moving on. Okay. Cooling house. So that's my milk and my meat. So I can do 4 milk, 1 meat. That moves the cooling house up. Bake house. So bake house is where it's going to get ugly. I only have 3 wheat. I could move the bake house up. Yeah, so I'm going to start getting stuck here. I can see that. So we'll just do what we can do. So 3 of those and both of those. Oh, we've got, no, actually that's better. I have 3 types of goods. I only need 4. So 1 blue, 1 of those, and 2 of those. So that's not so horrible. So that gets the bake house up. Manufacture. I don't have any hides, so I don't get the 3 type bonus. I'm going to need 5. I don't have enough to move manufacture even once. So here's my situation now. Carpentry, I can move carpentry up with a tool. So I'll spend a tool to move that up. Carpentry then is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1. So carpentry goes up 1. My brew house is stuck. I can't move it unless I spend a ring. My manufacture is stuck as well because I only have 2 and 1. So now I want to keep 3 rings. I can spend 2 rings here. So that's what we'll do. So we'll spend a tool to move this rock up, spend 1 ring to move this up. We will then spend a second ring to move this up, and that gets me the next step here, which gets me up to 50 points. So that's good. Yes, so that's this question is the jump in, so because if I can go 1 more, it goes up to, it's a 20-point swing if I could clear all 5 of these, but I don't think, I only have 3 rings, and I don't think, let's see, if I've got the goods, if I can clear, yeah, if I can clear 2 of these, I can use the other 3 rings, and that'll be a 20-point jump there, as compared to just getting 8 points here. So let's see, I've got to clear 2, though. I can't do carpentry, that's out. I can't do brew house. I could do cooling house, and I might as well, so I spend a rock to move that up. And cooling house is 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5. So I got the cooling house up. That's another 3 points. Bake house, I don't have. Manufacture, I would need 4, and I am 1 short of manufacture. So I cannot... Oh, so the 3 rings, if I spent, yeah, that's true. The 3 rings would get me 3 points each. So that's actually better because I have the tools to do it. So I'll do that, and I'll do that, and I'll do that for 3 rocks. And I'll spend the 3 rings that I've got to go up 3, 3, and 3. So therefore, that's where I have to stop. I can't, yeah, for those 3 bonuses. So that actually works out, does work out better. So that's it. Sadly, I can't do 1 more to get the full 70-point bonus, but that takes us to the, I believe, the end of the game. I've used that. I've used that. Do I have 3 crops of the same type? I do. I have 3 crops of the same type, so I can spend those last 3 crops for this card. That's just another 5 points. That's nice. And I don't have a ring left for that. I don't have 3 rings for that. I don't have any hops. I don't have any planted, and I don't have that. So that's it. I didn't get to use those cards. That takes us to the end of the game. So now I just figure out my points, and we see where we hit. They say in the rules that 50 or 100 points is a good score. My first game, I got 52 points. My second game, I got like 85 points. So I started to learn. I think I'll do better than that this time. So we have 50 and 50 and 12 as 62. And then you add all this up. So 62, 72, 84, and 94, and 397. 100. Hey, I already broke my last score. 110. 116, 122, and then you score points here for each thing on here is 1/5 of a point. So I get some random points there, and so the rows they are in, yeah. So that's so each of these, this is worth 1 point. So it's kind of, you sum all that up, divide it by 5. So that's about, that's 20. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7 more points there. And I think that's it. So like about 135 points or so. Yeah, that was pretty good. And thanks to you, the chat, you saved me from this. So there we go. That is Hallertau. If you're playing it by yourself and you're not talking through everything, you can play it in about 30 minutes. I found it goes pretty fast if you're by yourself. But if you're playing with a big group, you know, there's some stuff you do at the same time, but the worker placement you have to do, the game actually shows you what you can do. There's a lot of stuff you can do simultaneously, but some stuff you have to do like the worker placement. I'll be curious to see how this plays with a bigger group. I'll also be curious to play with different decks of cards. There's 4 different decks of cards for each of these stacks. So that's interesting. So there you go. That is Hallertau. And now my brain hurts a little bit, and that's the end of that. So I'm going to take my first player marker, and I'm going to say farewell. Take care, and I'll talk to you all on another episode of Board Games with Scott Live. Bye-bye.